Hello everyone, hope you're all keeping well and croeso welcome to the module Arwain yr Reoli Anghenion Dysgu Ychwanegol, Leadership and Management of Additional Learning Needs. This is just a quick recorded introduction to the module before we meet for our induction in the next week or so. So I thought I'd start off with this introduction, thinking about what the assessment for the module is. And this is a 4,000 word equivalent assignment, which has the title A Patchwork Text that explores the processes of introducing or refining an aspect of additional learning needs. Now, there are 4 different sections to this assignment that I'll go through shortly. Each of these 4 sections links to one of the 4 core strands that you will study throughout the module, and each of these sections or core strands will relate to an equivalent of 1,000 words. Now, there are different parts to this assessment in terms of how you present the information that you're going to present. However, you will submit all your work on a single Word document, which will also include hyperlinks to a video, for example. So thinking about the marking criteria for the module, then there are 4 core strands, there are 4 sections to the assignment, 1 linked to each of the 4 core strands, and then there is a section linked to academic writing and referencing. So the first core strand, for example, asks you to focus on the role of the ALN, and in particular to offer a critical examination of the specific functions and responsibilities of the ALN and the impact upon staff, children and families. Now, this will include some theoretical discussion around the specific function of the ALN, but also think about the ALN role and responsibility within your particular setting. Second core strand asks you to think about partnership working, and in particular to provide a critical evaluation of partnership working in the context of ALN, and to demonstrate a critical awareness of the benefits and challenges of working in such a way. Now, again, there will be links to theory here, but also what does partnership working look like within your setting, and also what might partnership working look like within your particular role and set of responsibilities within your setting. Third core strand then is thinking about support and intervention, and in particular asks you to develop a plan to implement appropriate interventions and strategies for the support of ALN within the particular context of your setting. Now, here you might be focusing on an anonymised learner. Equally, you might be focusing upon a small group of learners. Equally, you might focus on a particular area of need, or potentially you might be offering more of a whole setting overview about how you develop and put into practice appropriate support and intervention. And the final core strand is thinking about leadership and management of ALN, and in particular will ask you to critically evaluate modes of effective leadership and management of ALN within a whole setting. Again, thinking about this on a theoretical level, but also what does this look like within your setting. Now, you can see that each of those core strands equates to 20% of the mark for the assignment. The final 20% of the mark is linked to academic writing and referencing, and as noted on the marking criteria here, the clarity of exposition and accuracy with reference to grammar, syntax and spelling, use of relevant and current literature which is correctly cited and referenced. So I'm going to go through very briefly before we meet together what the different core strands of the assignment are. So the first core strand, then looking at the role of the ALN, will ask you to produce an 8-minute video presentation. Now, the video presentation, which we will look at in more detail together, will very much follow the format of what I've done here, which will be a recorded PowerPoint. However, the only difference being you will be asked to keep your camera on so that you are visible within the recording, as well as also having the auditory commentary. And this will be an approximately 8-minute video presentation within which you will critically evaluate the specific functions and responsibilities of the ALN impact upon different stakeholders, and make links to what this looks like within your setting. So core strand 1 will be an 8-minute recorded PowerPoint video presentation. This is what this looks like in terms of the mark scheme. This marking rubric will be available on Canvas and also on Pebblepad, more of which I come on to later. And you can see here that there are different levels. So a distinction would be a core strand piece of work that scored a mark between 50 and 20, for example, which offered an excellent critical examination of the specific functions and responsibilities of the ALN, an impact upon stakeholders, and this is presented in an effective and concise way with a clear delivery. Second core strand, then second part of the assignment, is a self-evaluation. We will share with you a self-evaluation template which you may use in particular in terms of reflecting upon how you might want to focus on this part of the assignment. And you will complete a self-evaluation of partnership working within your setting. So this could include partnership working generally within your setting, but also your role and experiences of partnership working. So what's going well, what could be further developed, and why? Although there will be self-reflection and self-evaluation here, there will still be an expectation that you support this with links to relevant and current literature. Again, we can see here the marking rubric, again, the same distinction, merit, pass or fail levels in terms of the core strand. So a mark looking at scoring in a distinction category, for example, 15 to 20 out of 20 marks, offering a very good critical evaluation of partnership working in the context of ALN, including an excellent demonstration of critical awareness of the benefits of partnership working, but also the challenges to partnership working in practice. Third core strand then is asking you to think about support and intervention, and in particular thinking about the graduated response to supporting learners. So potentially thinking about what your setting does as part of its universal provision, but how then that provision might become more tailored and targeted based upon the complexity of the needs of learners. And this will be a 1,000-word equivalent academic poster. Now again, there will be more support in terms of how to develop an academic poster, but there is no expectation that there will be 1,000 words on the poster that you present. However, there will be a mixture of images as well as text to support this discussion. So an academic poster will be what you submit as part of the assessment for core strand 3. Again, you can see here the marking rubric. I won't read through this to you, but again, you can see the distinction, merit, pass or fail levels. And the final part of the assignment, then core strand 4, is asking you for a 1,000-word critical evaluation, thinking about what effective leadership and management of ALN looks like within a whole setting. What might be the barriers to effective leadership and management? How might effective leadership and management be supported? What might be the impacts of effective leadership and management of ALN? And again, you can see here the marking rubric. Again, won't read through it to you, but you can see the distinction, merit, pass or fail grade boundaries and what those would look like. The final part then, 20%, so a large chunk of the assignment mark, is looking at your academic writing. So in particular here, we're thinking about effective use of citations and references, reading widely and deeply to support your discussion. So, having briefly introduced the assignment, which we will pick up multiple times as we work through the module, I am aware that for some of you this is the second module that you will be studying on the ALN pathway. For others of you this might be the first one. So just a quick note of the National Conference Saturdays. Now there is an expectation of attendance at the National Conference Saturdays. There are two of these. The first one will come round pretty quickly on Saturday the 7th of February, whilst the second one would take place on Saturday the 14th of March. Now these National Conference Saturdays, as the name suggests, is an opportunity for all of us working on this module nationally across the 8 universities in Wales delivering the programme to meet together. This will take place on Teams, and the Teams link will be sent out and shared with you prior to the day. It will also be available on Canvas on Swansea Uni website, and it will also be available on PebblePad through EWC as well. So Saturday the 7th of February, Saturday the 14th of March, there would be an expectation of attendance on both of those days. Now, in terms of the timeline for the days, we aim to start at 9:30, and we tend to suggest people maybe try and get onto the link from about 9:20 onwards, just in case there's an issue in terms of joining. The first half hour of the day is an introduction, and a large part of that introduction will focus upon the assignment, for example, and what the assignment looks like generally, but equally what we're covering on the national conference that day, how that links to the assignment itself. This then is followed by a longer session 1, so an hour and a half. So on the first national conference, for example, this will focus on core strand 2, whilst the session 2 in the afternoon will focus on core strand 2. The second national conference, session 1, will focus on core strand 3, and the second session in the afternoon will focus on core strand 4. We then have an Ask the Expert session built into the day. So this is where we have somebody who's external to the programme. So either a practitioner expert, so somebody who is an expert in terms of leading and or managing ALN in practice, or potentially as an academic and researcher from outside of the programme team who will come in and lead discussion and share examples of practice. And then we finish the day off between 3 and 3:15 in terms of a plenary, thinking about what the key messages of the day are and what the next steps might be. Just a quick note of where you will find resources. Now again, this won't be new for some of you, but it may be new to some of you. So you will find information and resources in 2 places, and it's important that you engage with both. So firstly, Canvas. So Canvas is the virtual learning environment specific to Swansea University. This is where you will find this recorded PowerPoint, for example, I'm speaking on now. This is where I will upload things like the module handbooks, weekly to-do lists, links to optional drop-in sessions. I will send announcements and messages through the module, for example, as well, which should automatically link to your student email account. This is, in other words, is where we will keep in touch with each other as a Swansea-specific cohort, and this is where ultimately you will submit your assignment at the end of the module as well. And then we've got PebblePad. So PebblePad is available to the national cohort. You will need to log into your EWC account for this using your usual details to do so. On PebblePad, you will find the learning materials and resources to work through. You will also find links to the National Conference Saturdays. You will also find the recordings from the Saturdays, also the PowerPoints and resources from the National Conference Saturdays. And you will, in the assignment guidance section as well, also see exemplars of assignments that people have submitted previously from those different grade boundaries, pass, merit, distinction, for example. So just a reminder of those, what does Canvas look like? So this is the home page of the module on Canvas, for example, and you can see there is a tab on the left-hand side of the screen modules, assignments, reading list, announcements, discussions, and iGen AI search, for example. So I've put a couple of arrows on here, modules. You will see more information about the course itself, about who I am, and I will publish a weekly to-do guide as a way of keeping in touch with each other on modules as well. And I will also send out announcements regularly through the module. As I said in the previous slide, these should automatically link to your student email account and pop up there. However, it's also worth checking just in case by clicking on the announcement if there is something that I've posted on there. So this could be a reminder of the National Conference Saturdays, for example, and the link to join. Equally, it could be reminders about our optional Swansea specific drop-in sessions and how to join in and engage with those. And then finally, for now, this is what the front page of the module looks like on PebblePad, for example. Again, we've got a tab at the top of the screen here, and we can see course strand 1, 2, 3, and 4, for example. You can also see that there is a tab linking to some assignment guidance, as noted by the pink arrow on there. And then there will be an archive National Conference page. So this is where I will have stored information from the previous National Conference Saturdays, for example, that you might want to look back on. But also there will be a particular page for this year's National Conference days, including the resources, the recordings, and the links to join. So apologies for the croaky voice. Hopefully this brief introduction video will be helpful before we meet up, and I look forward to meeting you on Teams in the next couple of weeks to introduce the module, get to know each other as a cohort, and also then to start to plan ahead how we're going to set up our optional drop-in sessions, for example, and how we'll support each other through in terms of the assignment. So once again, Croeso, welcome to the module, and I wish you every success with this moving forward.